Hello there, everybody in YouTube land. I'm just waiting for some people to join. Hello to the people that's just joined. I'm the guy that waffles on about aliens and Bigfoots and spirits. So if you've got any questions at all, I'll try and answer them for my 30 plus years of research. And some people have asked me, what kind of research is it? It's actually heavy research. I won't go into all the details, I spoke to Nick Pope, I spoke to Linda Moulton Howe, so I've been around doing some bits and pieces, and someone's asking about Hollow Earth, High Rock. So I totally believe there's, excuse me, totally believe there is an entrance into hollow Earth now, but I don't think it's a hollow Earth as in just a sphere that's inside Earth. I think it's just huge underground caverns that have indigenous life in there. There's whistleblowers that have said that there is indigenous life. Now, one of them sort of contradicted himself though. Emery Smith, he said that the only sentient life there seemed to be these plants that could actually grab you with tentacles. However, later on a clip, I saw him saying, yes, there's little creatures down there, little humanoid creatures. So putting him aside, obviously you've got the old stories of Journey to the Centre of the Earth. And then you've got the Admiral Byrd stories where he supposedly went to Antarctica and was tractor beamed in. So this is after the World War II. He was tractor beamed in his plane and was warned not to go back there. And of course, he then went back to the governments and he wrote a diary about the inner Earth. So I think there's certainly cavernous systems underground, and if we are made up of loads of rocks sticking to an ice ball, which is what some people say, instead of a molten core, we was just a lump of ice, like basically a massive meteorite, and the rocks stick to us, then you would have all these gaps underneath. So I think there's certainly gaps under there. Whether there's the lizard people that people say is under there that split off from us or split off from the dinosaurs and lived underground, that's one story that comes out. And obviously you've got the other lizard people that are aliens. So whether or not there is lizard people still underground, I mean, I only hear that a couple of times. So, and apparently they are space. They can travel in space even though they're from underground, but I don't know on that one. I won't want to commit myself to that one. I'm just going to go back and read. Hello, everybody that's just joined. Good day to Amanda. Do you believe in giants? Yeah, basically, there's so many stories, and it's not just me. The newspapers. If you actually look back at 1800s newspapers, they were constantly finding giants. Obviously, these are now admitted from Google, and I'll just give you an example of how Google censors things. If you type in happy white woman, you'll get loads of pictures of mixed couples or angry black women. However, if you type in happy white woman on DuckDuckGo, you'll see loads of happy white women. Now that's Google censoring. So going back to the giants, when people say, I can't find anything on giants because Google blah, 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 but Google hides things. And so does the Smithsonian, as we know, and obviously they have an influence around the world because a lot of museums are funded by powerful people or companies such as the Smithsonian, which is the Rockefellers. And you can do a trace back, and universities are the same. So where people find the bones and donate them to Smithsonian or take them to a university, if you look up that university, you'll find that it's probably funded by one of the elites that don't want us to know about the giants. So, yeah. So if you go along the biblical sense, the giants were the Nephilim to start with, which were the offspring of the Anunnaki, the fallen angels, Anunnaki, the bad ones, well, not bad, but the ones that had relationships with Earth women. Then you've got the giants there, and the story goes, there's so many stories of giants, right up to the one that was in the Afghanistan cave, which was the latest one I mentioned on another video. But so there's so many stories of giants, and I think there's a leg bone in a museum, a femur bone in Scotland or Wales or somewhere like that. And it's not giant, it's not deformed as in the giantism deformation that people have. It's actually a giant femur bone. So I do believe that there was giants. There are some people say there was giants that was a mile high. I wouldn't say there was. I don't think there's any evidence of that, but some researchers seem to think that there was. Based on texts and stuff, but I'm going with the assumption of the ones that I've seen the pictures of and the stories that came out in newspapers. You're looking at sort of 13-foot giants, which is still massive compared to most people these days. How is Bigfoot? Bigfoot's fine. I do like Bigfoot. Not that I'd want to meet him in a dark alley. Speaking of dark alleys, they say that his eyes glow red, so you'd probably know him coming. But Bigfoot. The more and more people that film Bigfoot, the more and more people say it's fake. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's how do you prove something exists when people can recreate it? Now, there was a company, film group. I think it was called the Corridor Crew. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They do CGI. I might be wrong on the people, but basically they were saying, look, this is how one of these UFO shots were faked. And again, my old saying is, look, just because you can recreate something doesn't mean that's how it was done at the beginning. So in the same goes for the Bigfoot footage. Obviously, there's always a blurry footage out there, which makes it hard for people to believe. But I think the real, as I said previously, there's there's laws in certain states that says you're not allowed to kill a Bigfoot. They wouldn't put that in there for fun because they would be ridiculed. So clearly they believe there's a Bigfoot out there. Katie's wrote, I don't think the lizard people theory means they're literally lizards. They do. The eyewitnesses that said that they've seen the Draco aliens, which are the lizard type people, have literally said scaly skin, reptile face, but humanoid body, 2 arms and 2 legs. The higher ups, the sort of the the rulers of the Dracos have apparently little horns, and they have some sort of cape or wing type membrane coming from the backs of them, whereas the worker lizards don't have the horns or the wing type thing. So they do say that's where the old TV show came from, V, if you remember that, and there was a new version of it. And I think they were trying to get out the point that alien lizards, not a good mix. So that's what they say. Obviously, I've not seen one. And the thing is, there's virtually no pictures or anything of them. Whereas little greys, you can see videos of them and that because they're around a lot. But the lizards work behind the scenes. So I don't think we'll ever see pictures of them if they are real. But yeah, they do literally mean lizards, lizard people. Do you think T-Caters has wrote, do you think aliens will show themselves anytime soon? No, because if they was going to do it, they would have done it a long time ago. We've got treaties with them that says don't show themselves, so that's us telling them. And I mean, if you look at the interview that Obama done on, it wasn't Conan, but I think it was one of those, Jimmy Kimmel, I think. where he jokingly turned around and says, they won't let us, meaning him, they won't let us tell you about them. In other words, the aliens don't want us to know either. So it works for the government because they obviously have their technology and want to keep it. But at the same time, the aliens want to abduct us and do whatever they're doing without us all finding out. So I don't think they're going to show themselves anytime soon. However, there is a lot of UFOs going around, a lot now. I don't know if you guys have seen them. Obviously, people with CGI can do fantastic stuff, but there's a lot out there. There was one just the other day I saw where a whole literally highway in Mexico or somewhere just literally all stopped and just was filming this UFO up in the sky. So the UFOs are showing themselves, but I don't think the aliens will. There's no benefit to them showing themselves. You got to look at it from a logic point of view. What benefit is there to show? There's none. They're doing what they need to do now, so there's no benefit for them. Katie's wrote, I think it stems from the draconian bloodline. Yes, that's what I was saying earlier about the hollow earth. Some people say that there was an indigenous species that branched off from the dinosaurs and then lived underground and are still there apparently, but the jury's out on that one. But the other ones are from the Draco system, which is kind of funny because the Draco, if you actually look at what the actual word means, it's basically goes back to sort of a dragon.
There is a text message. There is a text message.
Thing which I thought I'd already done. Sorry about that, people. So yeah, the Draconians. That's right. They're about 8 foot to 9 foot tall, very muscular and warlike. Apparently, they're the ones that are not great. However, what's interesting is if you read the transcript, and that's if you believe the transcript. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but there's a transcript online that was taken from when Reagan was in office. And he had a briefing with the head of staff, etc., and they told him about these aliens that are around. But they didn't mention the Dracos. They mentioned other names that they had created for them. So I'd be interested. Unfortunately, we don't know whether they're actually talking about what we now call as Dracos. Because they do call them another name. I can't remember the name. It's one sort of weird name that they made up. But they also made up the Ebens name, Eben 1 and Eben 2, for the two different types of greys. So we call them greys, they call them Ebens. So could the Reagan transcript that's online, and it's fascinating read it. If it's fake, they've done a damn good job. But if it's not fake, then they could be talking about the Dracos, but we are now calling them Dracos, whereas back then, in the 80s, they were calling them something different. So, yeah, quite fascinating. What about the ocean azure? I'm always going to pronounce everything wrong, so just no hate, please. I'm going to say sorry one more time just for the sake of it, to annoy Amanda. What about the ocean being the entrance to outer space? I wouldn't have said that. I've never really believed anything like that. I know they do have bases, aliens have bases all underneath our oceans, been there a long time. But going into outer space, and then of course then that would upset the flat earth people that say there is no outer space. So entrances into our ocean, yes, but into outer space, no. However, there was a contactee from I think they were contacted by the Zeta Reticuli Greys, and eventually she was being shown how to pilot a craft using her mind over many abductions, if you want to call them abductions, but she was a contactee. They was actually letting her remember some of the stuff that they were doing, and the story goes that she was being taught how to fly this craft because when the time comes, and now I was thinking the catastrophe would be Planet X coming back round, which is Nibiru, But it could also be a catastrophe that's happening now, for all we know. What with the elites doing whatever they're doing. But the story goes that she was being taught how to fly this craft, and they were heading in space. They were heading straight towards the sun. And then she was like, we're going to hit the sun. And apparently it went through the sun, literally just right through it. And they can do the same with Earth. They can fly right through Earth. So they open up some sort of portal and go through it. So going back to the outer entrance to outer space, could they be doing the same sort of thing, flying into the ocean and coming out into space, just like this woman said that they were doing? So interesting thoughts there. Hello to Lou. T. Caters wrote, like talking to people straight up, not like far AF pics. I'm guessing you mean in getting the information from people as opposed to photographs. Yeah. Sadly, I was listening to a program this morning actually on the way to work, and there was a guy that's been contacted all over his lifespan, and he had wrote about it, and he'd had visitations from Men in Black and all sorts of people saying to his father, tell whatever his name was, that we was here about his life insurance. In other words, threatening him. But he went public, and the amount of people that contacted him that don't tell anyone else that they've been contacted because of fear of the same thing, the ridicule as well as the threats that they may get if they go public. So it's very hard to find these people that's prepared to talk out, but there's probably a lot more than we imagine. Katie has wrote, there's lots of giant skulls found. The Anunnaki ones are the elongated ones, and yes, there was giant skulls. You have to be careful now because a lot of those more modern photographs on Google showing diggers near these giant skulls and things like that. Apparently they're fake. There was a competition or something a few years back for people to start doing, and you got to wonder whose idea was it to flood the market with these, or flood the computer system, the web with these fake photographs. I mean, it's the same as the crop circles. People are paid by the MI5, I think it is. And if you don't believe me, look into richplanet.net, into the crop circles, because he actually follows back to the actual house that's these people that do the crop circles live in, is paid for by an unknown. You cannot find the information out. It real goes deep. But anyway, so the giant skulls, you have to be careful now because there's a lot of fakes out there. Unfortunately, it was really annoying. So that's why if you go back and look at the old 1800, 1900 news clippings and things like that, then you'll see that the genuine, for sure, pictures. So much evidence that I'm terrible, and I'll just call the eye. So much evidence of giants and so much that goes missing. Yeah, it does. Like I said in one of my other videos, there was 2016, a rancher found a giant skull. I think it was, giant whole skeleton. I think it was about 12 foot. And at the bottom of the article, it said, news article, it said, we're going to donate to the Smithsonian. And of course, you'll never hear of it again. So it's sad. I mean, how many people come across these sort of things? It's the same as Bigfoot's. Phone conversations are recorded. I mean, I knew this way back, long story, I won't bore you where I worked, but I knew they recorded conversations, and even before Google and things like that, they had. I worked for a gas company at one point, and if a word was said, like for example BOMB, the system would flag that up straight away, and this is going back freaking early 90s. So they have the ability to listen in. So if you was a rancher or a hunter or something, and you said that I've just shot a Bigfoot, trust me, they're listening in, So that's why things go missing. And there's stories of people shooting Bigfoots. Obviously can't carry the body because the thing's 10, 11 foot tall. And then going back and finding it missing. So was it Bigfoot's taking it, or was it the people listening in triangulating the course? So just saying, it's throwing it out there. They cover up someone's wrote, Katie's wrote, they cover up everything so well. They do indeed. Yes, they do. Read your Bible, there are giants. Yes, that's what I say. I believe the Nephilim were giants. There's just too many stories that says there wasn't. Obviously, the Bible I don't believe 100% because I know that's a retelling up until a certain point where the Book of Enoch stops and then the Bible carries on. In other words, the Book of Enoch, everything they've copied from the Book of Enoch gets up to a certain point, and then obviously from Jesus onwards, pretty much, is new stuff. So that's what they wrote. But the problem with the Bible is, they talk about what the Last Supper and things that I can't remember. And the actual Bible was written a couple of hundred years after Jesus had passed. So how they know what he had for dinner and breakfast, I don't know. I struggle with that. But the general consensus is that the Bible was the Book of Enoch, just changed to fit the narrative. Yes, so Katie's wrote to Patty, if the Bible states that anything, so you're not allowed to change God's word, which is correct. However, the first Bible, the second Bible, and so on do change it, because obviously if it is a copy, which it is a copy, the descriptions are the same and everything else from the Book of Enoch. So the first people to even create the first Bible had already changed the word of God. So the word of God was the Book of Enoch, and straight away humans changed it. So you can't trust humans, unfortunately. Katie's wrote, the eyewitnesses seem to have only seen them in rituals, etc. I'm guessing that's the giant, maybe. Sorry, because I get behind on the reading the messages, go waffle on. I do, when I listen to people, I want people, to explain everything as best they can, not just skirt over something and say, yeah, that's real, and then move on. If I'm listening to people. So I try and give as much information as I can, and so I get behind on the questions, so forgive me for that. The Bible came from beyond the time of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yes, that's I'm trying to remember the name of the other things, but they're all incorporated into. No, the Bible didn't come from the time of beyond. Sorry, I thought you was referring to from. So the Dead Sea Scrolls make up the Book of Enoch, and so the Book of Enoch was the original Bible, and the Ethiopian copy is still the original Bible. So if you want to go to who's got the original Bible, it is the Ethiopian copy, which is the Book of Enoch, which has writings from the Dead Sea Scrolls in it. So the proper Bible that we call the Bible is a copy of the Ethiopian, which is the Book of Enoch, pretty much. So, and as you see, you'll each version of the Bible, you can just read each one, and you'll see bits are taken out, which gets further and further away from the. I mean, Enoch in the first Bible was talked about a lot, and now I think he's only mentioned once in the last Bible. So clearly, there's a narrative there for the people. Are shapeshifters Folio Coolio Hero? Yeah, pronounced it right, I think. Are shapeshifters in our government? That's a really tough question, isn't it? Because you've got people showing videos of people with their eyes. Now, I had heard years ago that shapeshifters was in our government. Well, not our government, but the American government. And they sort of said, so was reptilians. But are they in there? I don't know. I can't. Sorry, just having a drink there. Sorry about that noise out in the back there. I don't know. I mean, sorry, just having a drink there. Sorry about that noise out in the back there. I don't know. I mean, the benefit of a shapeshifter actually being possibly found out to do what? What are they doing? They're walking around. See, they wouldn't have to do that if they were in control of the government. Like being in the government, then they wouldn't even need to be seen. Why would they need to be seen? They could just, sit in a room and say, right, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to say. Here's the injections you need to give. If they was going to do that, I can't see the benefit of them standing around, walking, being photographed. So from a logic point of view, I can't see the benefit in them wearing suits and walking around if they are, getting a paycheck and all that kind of stuff. So I think I would probably say if there is shapeshifters, they're more hidden than, being televised, standing next to the Biden who's waffling on. But Katie's wrote, possibly loads of body doubles and clones. Yeah, that's where I would go. I would probably think they're more cloned. Amanda's wrote, do you think they would intervene if we do something stupid and try and block out the sun? That's a really good question, because we know they're not going to intervene in our, what's going on now, because they would have intervened World War One, World War Two, and going back Genghis Khan, they would have interfered. They would have interfered a long time ago. We're not special right now. The other people that died. But the question there is a good question. Would they try and do something, intervene if we did something to the planet? Then I would probably say yes, because we know that they do stop nukes. We know that from so many whistleblowers that have seen them and actually had gone on record saying that the UFOs were above their silos. And then suddenly, in fact, I don't know if you guys know that it was almost going to be a World War III between Russia and because of the nukes. So what happened was UFOs were seen over an American base, and then suddenly all the nukes started to arm themselves, which is unheard of. And at the same time, unbeknownst to the people in the bunkers, because obviously they didn't know what was going on, because they were actually deep down, they're like 10 stories down apparently. Over in Russia, the same thing was happening. Another UFO was firing a light beam down into the ground, into the silos, and obviously somehow reprogrammed these nuclear warheads to fire at America. So, of course, the people in America rang up their commanders, and their commanders rang round, and had lots of phone calls and everything else. And they were literally prepared for World War III. They thought that's it, because they knew that if their rockets had fired at Russia, because they didn't know Russian rockets was going to take off, that Russia would reply, and Russia knew that if their rockets took off, as soon as they took off, Americans would fire, because they didn't know the Americans would think. And then what happened was, a few seconds before they were all about to literally take off, they stopped and the UFOs flew away. So that's so they, going back to the question, if they're stopping nukes, then they probably would stop something that would harm the planet for sure. That's my take on it. And they would probably not hide it either, because they were just literally UFOs being seen above these bunkers, so that they wouldn't hide it. Katie's right. I believe most UFOs are from Earth or man-made. Now there's a hell of a lot of man-made ones. Yeah, Skunk Works, Lockheed Skunk Works, which is the company that makes them, have made a few. That they even apparently made the Phoenix Lights one, the one that's a mile wide, that happened in 97, if I remember correctly, in the States, in Phoenix, I think it was. Those whistleblowers that said that they had done that one, and that's why it was flying. It was a test flight. So it's interesting. So yeah, a lot of them now are man-made, so it's really difficult to tell which ones are which now. Certified alienist has wrote, aliens, entities, etc. are interdimensional, and they were revealed, and they are only revealed through phenomena. I would say there is interdimensional creatures. I definitely believe that, and I definitely believe there's probably aliens as well. I would say there is interdimensional creatures. I definitely believe that, and I definitely believe there's probably aliens as well. But I do think that the ones that come from the star systems are not interdimensional. They probably travel interdimensionally, but I don't think all aliens are interdimensional, because it'd be a bit sad that our one planet, out of all the trillions and Googleplexes or whatever they're called, hundreds of millions, is the only one with life here, and yet there seems to be teeming life interdimensionally. I just think that would be illogical. I know I sound like Spock, but no, it just seems a bit weird that. So I do think that we do have probably a mixture of them interdimensionally and ones that just live on planets, really. Katie's wrote, in Agatha I heard the same. John Boy. So I believe in none of these. So a genuine question: can you convince me at all? So probably the easiest thing to do is look up the Disclosure Project that was done in '93. I think it was Dr. Stephen Greer set up a panel of experts and whistleblowers in front of Congress. But it was done as an exercise for the people in power to see that not all is what it seems, and so they had people there from NASA, and they've had all sorts of people there testifying. If you don't believe in them, then your courts, in America, your court system's crap, because you have that saying, "In God we trust," and the jurisprudence has to weigh evidentially, and you have eyewitnesses. So if I said I saw someone shoot someone, you would take my word for it. But you have multiple experts saying this X, Y, and Z, but you wouldn't take their word for it. That's wrong. So in a court of law, you would take their word for it, and bang, there you go. Then you've got at least proof of that. So that's the way I would see it. Anthony's wrote, if they showed us, would we even know? And that's replying back to the person that said he didn't believe. And that's a really good question. Really good point that Anthony said. Katie's wrote, have you seen the Admiral Byrd flight transcripts? He states Antarctica is a tropical landscape. Yes, I have actually. There's an actual video of him. I don't know if you're aware of that. There's an actual video of him actually talking about it. So you can, instead of just a transcript, you can actually see his body language and stuff, which is very telling. Watching it, I think this was the flight before he went back. So, he went back with the whole fleet, because obviously they thought they was going to be able to wipe out what was there, and turns out they didn't. But yes, he was saying about, I think he was pretty much talking about the inner Earth side of it, but he didn't say that because obviously he's not allowed to say inner Earth, but he was talking about the tropical landscapes and stuff, which is weird because obviously the flat earthers will say, well, there you go, that's why the American, the military are not letting anyone in Antarctica. But on the other side, you've got the people that say there is an inner Earth and it's got, lush landscape. So yeah, I mean, if that's true, he looks sincere, and I mean, he was on TV talking about it. So his career would have been over if he was talking a load of rubbish. But I don't think he would have probably been allowed to say too much other than what he said, because I think he was trying to get it out there and kind of cover up disconnected. I'm not sure. Disconnected. If I'm disconnecting people, sorry. Everything's compartmentalized with the government. So one hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. I mean, go back to Bob Lazar, for example, when he was working on the ship, and I totally believe he did. There's enough evidence now to prove that what he said is now coming true. But he wasn't allowed to sit next to someone that was also working on the same craft type of thing at lunch. Everything is so compartmentalized. And the same goes, it's a need to know thing. You're totally right there. Do you believe in the firmament? So I've mentioned this before. I think from the descriptions of the firmament, going back to the ancient writings of where it would have come from, the Anunnaki basically are the ones that did the first writings. We know that. That's just, so I think that they came here in rocket ships. We call them the Vimanas, I think it is. But the descriptions in the Bible and everything else and all the books say that there was Sorry, I don't know if I lost anyone there. I've switched to mobile now. Sorry about that. Basically, for me, the firmament is just the ozone layer or the Earth's atmosphere that the Anunnaki struggled to get through, and wrote about it because obviously their planet's got a different atmosphere to ours. They wrote about it, and people ended up saying that it's a dome when really it's just them struggling to get through. That's just what I think the firmament is. Just reading the messages now. Sorry, one sec. Talk amongst yourselves. So I'm just reading here things like Katie's saying that they won't let any randomer into a place of power. They could ruin it all. Yeah, that's why I believe that's why the Biden's there as a puppet. Do you think extraterrestrial life, this is Anthony, may move on a different timescale than we do, move faster? That's a very good question. I would assume the spirits do, or the light beings do, because apparently when clairvoyants talk to them, they can say, I can see the future, I can see the past. So they do, I guess. But I've not heard of anything else where they are moving at a different time rate than us. It's a really good question, but I've never come across that. That would, I guess that would put them out of phase with us, wouldn't it? We wouldn't probably be able to see them. And if that's the case, then we probably wouldn't know about them. So it's a good question, but I don't know the answer. I've not heard anything like that before. How about angels? Well, angels, as we know, the word translates to messenger. And they were the Anunnakis that were coming backwards and forwards. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up. But basically, there was a group of younger Anunnakis that were doing some of the menial tasks, coming backwards and forwards and things like that. And I think they were classed as the angels. And they ended up actually having a fight. They thought they could take on the main Anunnaki, the older ones, and they lost in the end. Big space battles, etc. So the angels is basically just Anunnaki, and then they've got the fallen angels, which is a name for the ones that had relationships with the Earth women at the time. Sorry if I keep losing connection. I'm actually on Wi-Fi, internet, Vodafone now, but it's still losing connection. Sorry if I'm losing connection. It is on data now, but because the Wi-Fi was crap. So, can you see, if anyone wants to see what I'm waffling on about while I keep losing connection, this is going to go on YouTube. This will go on YouTube, so you should be able to hear the bits where I keep missing up. So I've got 15 minutes left, and I know you guys are probably all disappearing because of the bad connection, so I apologise for this. Buffy's wrote, I'm loving your channel, thank you for the information, no problem. Just sorry that it's unstable connections. Certified alienists, the secret keepers, the Smithsonian, the Vatican, yeah, spot on. Do you believe national parks are there to hide stuff and keep stuff there within? Good question. National parks have got a lot to do with stuff because, as you probably know, with the missing 401 that David Paulides does, the most people that go missing is in Yosemite National Park, and they're never found. They go missing in mysterious ways, like the last person in a group of people will just disappear. So the national parks have a lot to hide. Yes, they do, totally. And he's tried for freedom of information requests and stuff, and they've stonewalled David Paulides. So the national parks, there's something going on there. And the question is, why were they national parks? I mean, if everywhere at the beginning, everywhere was just, land. So what made that special enough for them not to bulldoze over and build houses on? What makes that land unique enough for them to say, let's keep this particular place sacred and, have it as national parklands? That's what gets me. Do you know what I mean? They bulldoze everywhere else, but they decided that certain places around the world or in America they want to keep sacred and have it as a park. So yes, national parks, there's something going on there. What it is, I don't know, and I don't think even the national park people know, because they've gone up to David Paulides and sort of said, look, we're unsure what's going on and we're not allowed to say even if we did know. So Fulio Coolio Heroes, what's bigger in power, the Illuminati or the aliens? The aliens, because the Illuminati are the illuminated ones that learnt the information from the aliens. So, yeah, aliens, pretty much, if they're going to run anything. So the question there is, or is the Illuminati working for the aliens? Some of them are, which is why you get that tier system, like the Masons. You start off at 1 and then you end up with 54 or something, and so the 54 tiered person knows a lot more than the first person. So people in the Illuminati, not everyone would know that they're in communication with aliens. Only the very top tier people would. Yeah, I think that's what I think. Who's stronger, the devil or a might alien? Or mighty, I'm guessing a mighty alien. So I don't think there's a devil. Everything that's I've come across doesn't suggest there's a devil. There's just a lower frequency. So when you die, you go to a lower frequency, and so you're still here, for example, on Earth, but you're sort of put with people that's also had lower frequencies. In other words, angry people or murderers or whatever else. So you're in that location with them, and all the happy people that died, and probably not happy because they died, but happy people that have got that disposition of being happy. From what I understand, they stay together. So all the spirits stay together. So I don't think there's a devil with horns and that. I know people will say, well, you've got the serpent that's classed as devil, but is that serpent simply just one of those Draco reptilians that I was talking about before? Because I know obviously the secret societies worship Satan, or the devil, or whatever you want to call him. Sorry, Katie's wrote something there, but I think I've passed it, so I'm just going to keep moving on. Someone's asked, what do you know about giants? I've covered that this morning, actually, or earlier on. So if you do want to listen to what I talk about the giants, just watch this video on YouTube later on. I'll put it up later. It'll be live chat number, the very latest one, 15, I think it is, something like that. So just whizzing through now. I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to try and go through questions. Is the devil an alien? Well, so I did a video on... so I don't think there's a devil per se, but I know people say there's demons, and I did a video on what I thought demons were. Because to me, demons is just the name of something that's evil. It's like a monster. You can't describe a monster, but you know it's not nice and it's going to come and kill you. It could be any kind of shape or size. So I think demons were just literally bad, either aliens or people. And now people say there's no such thing as aliens, they're demons. But technically, if they're evil aliens, then they are demons, if you get what I'm saying. So no one can actually describe a demon other than it's evil. So that's why I say I don't think there's a real thing as demons, same as monsters. I mean, once you know, there was an old saying, isn't there? Once you label something, it changes it. So at the moment we call something a monster, but if we said, it's really just a crocodile with wings, then we've labelled it and it becomes not a monster anymore, and therefore that scariness has gone away because we now understand it. And the same goes for demons. I don't think there's a demon. I think we just label things a demon because we don't understand it and we think it's scary and it's going to kill us. Just whizzing through. Sorry, I'm just trying to find things because I've only got 9 minutes left. Are we mistaken aliens? Are we mistaking aliens from gods? Well, if you go to the Anunnaki, if you watched any of my videos from the first one, I think the Anunnaki were classed as gods. All makes total sense. The Elohim is the name of the race that they are, but in the book, the Bible, we'll just use the Bible, they say that the Elohim is God. So again, my analogy is you go to another planet. If you went to another planet with a couple of people and we said, look, we're humans, and we have new technology and you have to bow to us, then they would call humans God because they're worshipping you. Same as them, same as the Anunnaki. They came here, their race was called the Elohim, which is plural. And that's their race name, and we worship them as gods, or did worship them as gods. Do you believe the story of giants? I've covered giants earlier, so please watch this video on YouTube. I talked about that earlier, so this will be up later on. Just reading through people's chatting to each other and sorry, yeah, bear with me. I'm just keep making noises so you know that I haven't disappeared. La-di-da. I wish they actually showed these comments on YouTube so people could read them instead of me having to read them out loud. The US government has now opened witnessing technology that is not of this world. Yes, they have. Yeah, so that was a point Atiasas has wrote, basically talking about the fact that the governments have said there's technology that's not theirs. They don't know whether it's from this world or whether it's another superpower on Earth, which we know, it's not another superpower on Earth because the same story came out in the mid-40s where there was UFOs flying around, and I've got the video on one of my videos where the army man says, there's flying things around, we don't know if it's one of ours or alien. So obviously 40, 50, 60 years later we're still saying that we don't know that they're coming from Russia or China. Are we that thick? We must know that where they're coming from. So yeah. Insectoids, someone's just written insectoids, Palladians. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of names. What about the Nephilim? I kind of touched on the Nephilim earlier, and because I'm running low on time now, if you want to go back, if you haven't already watched my videos, start from video number 1. I try and spell it out as clear as I can from my perspective, and so far a lot of people have agreed with my perspective, even though it's not mine. It's a mixture of other researchers as well, but I'm just sort of put it in a logical formation for you. Internet has been dodgy all round recently. Amanda says, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've switched to data because the Wi-Fi kept cutting out, but I'm sorry about that. Do you believe in time travel? Do I believe that it's happening now? Or, because I mean, you've got, there's so many stories out there of, like Andrew Bashago, as I mentioned before, going through time travel. Do I believe it? I believe the American military have been dabbling with it for a long time. And if you believe the stories of the Philadelphia experiment, etc., where they ended up sort of doing the time travel thing for 10 minutes, as well as other phenomenon it did. I probably think that out there is some sort of time travel going on. Might not be, a DeLorean or anything like that, but I certainly think they've been. If they haven't done it already, they will get to that point. I mean, I have heard the stories of the time travel where they talk to people in the future, military, and the military give them information back, so that they can change what they're doing now to change the future of. So I've heard all of that, from whistleblowers, but whether or not that's true, I don't know. But I would imagine they would get to there. Do you think CERN split time? I think CERN's done something. Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether the Mandela effect's got anything to do with it, but I think CERN's done things that they shouldn't have done. I mean, I've heard stories that they've managed to bring through dinosaurs and stuff, as well as people dying in the near vicinity to it. So they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, I think. I mean, I remember back when CERN was supposedly about to start, even though we know now that they actually turned it on way before the newspapers said that they was about to turn it on. And it said in the newspapers, scientists say that when they switch on CERN, it could blow up the universe, or at least our localized, Milky Way. And, I remember thinking to myself, well, you've got a choice. Don't turn it on, or turn it on and maybe blow up everything. Yeah, you wouldn't turn it on. So, I mean, I don't know what the newspapers were on about there, but talk about fear-mongering even back then. But, yeah, they're up to no good. I mean, as I say, they lied about when they actually even switched it on. It was apparently 4 years before that. So you can't trust anyone these days. And do you believe, Folio Cooliers, do you believe that we are already a minute late in time? I think the military are up to stuff. They've probably done stuff. We would probably never know, really, because we would just be moved on a different timeline, so we wouldn't know, unless we get the Mandela effect, which makes sense, that we would remember stuff, but because obviously we're now on a different timeline, the different timelines changed and we remember things differently, so it's possible they're doing that. Anthony, this has been good. Love your content. Thanks for answering the questions, because we have a lot. You're welcome. I wish I had more time. Earth is flat, says Kickback. I've done a few videos on that. I will probably go into a lot more depth when I get back round to doing the flat Earth thing. I want to still learn more about what people think on that. So what about aliens? What do you think about Project Serpo? Yeah, I totally believe that was real. Spielberg obviously spelled it out in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So the Serpo is where we did an exchange with, I think it's the Zetas, and in return, 13 of our guys went over to their planet. I think only 9 or 10 returned. One died on the way. A couple wanted to stay there, and the others came back. So yeah, I totally think that's a real thing that happened. Yeah, I mean, there's not hard evidence, but there's enough anecdotal evidence out there that I think to say that certainly happened. I'm just going to be ever so quick now. Sorry, guys, because I've got 1 minute left. People are saying that Earth's not flat. They're talking about why the sun, when we have moon darkness. So the last few asked me about the chat thing. Is the only one. Sorry, someone's right. Ask me about, but chat is the only thing who responds. Sorry, not sure what that means. But now it's 1 o'clock, so I have to shoot. Sorry, guys, but I hope the internet wasn't too bad for you. But like I say, this video is going on to YouTube later on this evening. So if you do want to listen to what I was waffling on about or not, hopefully answering some of your questions, to my knowledge anyway. So I'll be probably back online Monday, noon as always, and I'll try and get. Sorry, someone's asking, is the moon hollow? I'll talk about you asked, but watch my videos. I have covered some of this. If you haven't already seen them, go back and watch from video number 1 onwards. And I'll try and cover it Monday if you are around noon, lunchtime Monday. I'll do another live chat. But a lot of the things that I've sort of said is in my videos already. So go back, but try and watch them in order because it makes more sense than just watching one. Because people that have watched just one then say, that doesn't work. And then I say, go and watch video number, blah, blah, blah. And they come back and say, okay, yeah, you're right. So try and watch them in order and